Hello. Hello, Thicey Bread. Hello, Bland White Cube. Can you do the whole Popcast in 13 minutes now? Sorry. No. Yes, I can. Hello and welcome back to the Xanadu SAC All-Star. Miss Popgun's awesome. Let's go raid fish. There you go. Battle of the Free Agents? What the heck is that? It's not the it's dangerous to go alone thing, is it? Is Battle of the Free Agents an actual thing, or are you just pulling my leg? But oh no. Welcome to we're gonna end the stream right now. Let's go raid fish. Oh man. Good morning, Owen. Good morning to you. Oh, you guys don't have to do me like that, man. I'm like just waking up when I'm doing these things, right? And you gonna do me like that? Battle of the Free Agents. It's good because there probably has been a tournament called Battle of the Free Agents in Splatoon, or if there hasn't been one, there will be at some point. Because we're running out. We've used all the good tournament names so far. So all that's left is just Bofa memes. Hello, fair. Now that I'm looking at it, I believe that is pronounced fairy. Yeah, that's got to be fairy. I've always wanted to say fire, but that doesn't make any sense. At least I don't think it does. How is I know I don't know what team name you're on, but I know you are on a EU team that's been doing pretty good recently. You guys are a little too good for me to talk about on the podcast, so I don't look into you too much, but as a fellow Hydra main, I like to keep some sort of tabs on what other Hydra players are doing. Somewhat. Unless I don't. Speaking of Hydra, there's one right there. One of the few people who still thought, or at least used to think, vanilla Hydra was an acceptable thing to do, and has since come over to the dark side of realizing that custom Hydra, while still not the best kit available in the world, is significantly better than a frickin' splashdown chicken bomb Hydra. You know what the problem with vanilla Hydra is? What happens after you land your splashdown? You're just sitting there like a jackass, and you're like, oh crap, all these guys are gonna kill me because I can't do anything. 1v1 me with V Hydra, bring it on. Anytime, any day, except for right now or any other time, because I'm usually busy. But in theory, I will always pretend that I will never back down from a challenge. Also, hello, Falco Flyer. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. I missed you. I missed your hello thing. I don't personally miss you. If I missed you, I would just go watch a VOD of you or something. Hey, I listened to your episode of the Moray Tavern podcast yesterday, which is a podcast from Smash of 60% fish puns. Good stuff there. So, congratulations. I've listened to a few episodes of your podcast as well. Under the Ink, I believe that is called. I remember you did one with By the Way Blue. The name of your podcast isn't on your Twitter. Oh, there it is. It's your pinned tweet. Under the Ink. Under the Ink. Yes. Okay, there you go. Affiliate since November 2017. My goodness. Welcome to the Falco Flyer Twitter podcast, where we just read off all the information on Falco Flyers thing. Hey, your birthday was last month. Happy birthday. Congratulations on that. Hey, Splatner. How's it going? Yeah, Thicey Bread, you already said hello. Yes, I'm happy. I'm happy you're here. I saw you. I went back and watched the VOD. I saw you rooting me on in the All-Star tournament. I see you. I'm still not giving you food though, but appreciate it nonetheless. Froggy's outdated. How are you outdated? Oh, you thought Fairy played foil. Well, okay, look, Splatver. I call you Silver, but I've understood that not other people are gonna. If I say the word Silver, and people look in chat, they're gonna be like, "Oh, I don't understand." Nobody in chat's named Silver, so they're not gonna know who I'm talking about. You and I both know that we're having a conversation. But if I just call you Silver instead of Splatver, it's like us having a private conversation that other people are not involved in, which is rude to do in a public setting such as this. During the SAC, well, yeah, because you were talking crap about me on the on EV stream, I believe. Can I help you speedrun your algebra? No. No, I have not used. I graduated high school 11 years ago. I graduated college like 8 years ago. My goodness. So ever since then, I have not used algebra at all. And probably never will. If I needed to use algebra, I'm sure there's something on my smartphone that can do it for me. So I can't help you with your algebra, even if I wanted to. Can I get a... No, I'm not... No. Stu already got me with something once today, and that seems like a trap, too. Tub nug. So, no, I'm not giving you that. Because I don't know what that is. It seems like a trap. It's not bad. I don't trust you. I don't care. I don't care. I don't trust any of you now. Stu ruined it for all... Stu ruined it for everybody. It's just... Fooled me once, shame on me. But I'm not going to let it happen again. Stu has ruined me forever now. Everything I thought I knew has been a lie. Okay, yeah, you're my boss, but you don't listen. You don't pay me. It's more like indentured servitude at this point. Hey, go run help desk. Go do help desk for low ink. Yeah, thanks. Love to. This is my favorite. Give me more low ink help desk, please. One of the mini Hoenns. I think this one is the actual Hoenn hero. The real one. Who brought Stu into this community? Huh? We were doing just fine until somebody at IPL decided to introduce Stu to our little scene here, and ever since then, it's just been nothing but chaos and misery. Astro, okay. How dare. Hey, good morning, Evie. I thought you don't wake up. Are you skipping school to watch this? Somebody said in Twitter, I think it's because I got the wife on today. I'm letting you know in advance that I'll be ignoring English class for this interview. That's fine. You don't need to know English. I teach, listening to me, I speak English. So that's about as good as going to an actual English class. And I sometimes come up with creative words, so. And who knows what language of origin those come from. So this is actually like better than English because you're also learning Popgun speak along with it. Oh no. You're in art class. Don't be skipping the arts. I wonder how many people watch the Popcast are actually like playing hooky with school. It's not my fault. It's your decision to make, but you are the future, as they say. Unless you're not. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or a VOD, Twitch or YouTube, while you're getting kicked from Midpoint due to inactivity, going 1-5 with 0 armors while using vanilla tri-slosher like Surskit, posting a picture of yourself as the final boss and romanceable NPC, and it's the same picture, whatever it is that you're doing right now, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. News as I adjust the camera. I probably should have adjusted this beforehand. News of upcoming tournaments. No, the Battle of the Free Agents is not going to be going on this weekend. In fact, I don't even think that is a real thing. But there are a plethora of tournaments that are going on this weekend. 3 aimed at teams in the lower level. So let's look at them. First off, on Saturday, March the 6th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, it is the Little Squid League 11 tournament. Already saw about 10-ish or so teams that are playing on that tournament on Saturday. If you recall, the last LSL tournament was invitational. This one is open. I believe the 10th one was just more of a celebration 10 tournament anniversary kind of thing. So the 11-1 tournament number 11 is back to its usual open self. So make sure you sign up for that. Now, on the same day, SAC tournament number 4 is happening at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, it is it's not common, but it has happened in the past where we have 2 lower level tournaments happening on the same exact day. Here's why it is totally fine. SAC is obviously at the higher end of that spectrum of tournaments that allows the lower level portion of mid-level teams in, or whoever thinks they're currently Div 3 now. LSL is aimed more for teams that are speculated to be around Div 6-ish kinds of range. So it's these 2 tournaments are on the opposite end of the spectrum. So the fact that they happen on the same day is totally is something I think all of us should be cool with. Also, the fact that even though most LSL teams don't participate in SAC, the option is still there for them to play in both tournaments because LSL doesn't last 8 hours. like some other tournaments we're going to be talking about in a second. So there is still the option for teams to do both tournaments if they felt inclined to do so. So these two tournaments happening at the same time, perfectly fine. No issues with that whatsoever, and I don't think anybody has raised an issue with that being the case. Now, if you play in those two tournaments on Saturday, and you're still looking to whet your appetite, the Minnow Cup Rainmaker Edition is going to be Sunday, March the 7th, at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. This is going to be the last Minnow Cup of this season, because Rainmaker is the last mode, unless they do a tournament with Turf War only, and if they do that, they have no souls. So the fact that it's on Sunday and it's Rainmaker makes me think it might not be as heavily populated as the last Minnow Cups. Doesn't matter. We will be talking with one of the members of the Minnow Cup staff coming up shortly later in this episode. Also, I saw last night Falco Flyer has announced a new league kind of thing for 8 teams. I believe more information about that will be coming out soon. I saw the skill level for this was targeted to be league powers of 2100 to 2300. I don't really know what that means. If you're interested in playing in that, I would suggest that you ask about, hey, what other teams are already signing up for this tournament before you sign up? And if you realize that the other teams that are signed up for this tournament are teams that you are absolutely going to stomp, don't sign up for it. I don't know. I don't know much about this. I just saw it posted last night. And so look into that if you're interested. Or don't if you're not. I don't care. It's not my event. Today, we are going to be covering the SAC All-Star Tournament that happened this past weekend. We're also going to be interviewing Miss Popgun, who, if you weren't aware, is my wife. And for our, I've interviewed her slightly before on the Popcast in the past, but we're going to have an actual sit-down, in-person interview with an actual guest here on the Popcast in studio. How about that? Also going to give out a proper shout-out to Xanadu, obviously, as you see on the topics there. A team that deserves a shout-out. Whenever a team disbands, we like to give them a little attention. Xanadu, I'm going to give a little bit more than usual. But first, it's time to play everyone's favorite game show called Your Pickup Team Name is Bad. Well, yes, round of applause, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for coming in to today's episode of Your Pickup Team Name is Bad. Let's take a look at our contestants. Today we're going to be bringing in people from the Midpoint Draft Cup. Oh my goodness, we got a lot of great contestants here for you today. First off, hailing from a pun of a bankrupt toy company, it is Simps Are Us. Wow, what a strong contender right there. Next, the crossover nobody asked for. It's the Doki Doki Literature Club with Red Spy Senpai. Oh my goodness, I don't know if this team was on stream or not, but that is a long name for commentators to have to say if they choose to say the whole thing. Let's keep moving along. Don't stick a fork in this team, even if you think they are done. It is Plug Socket. Oh my gosh, how much time do you guys spend coming up with these team names? Seriously though. Hailing from the tri-state area, it's Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated, a strong contender for a bad pickup team name right there. Coming next, probably a meme that I am too old to understand, it's a monkey named Harold. Now, I googled a monkey named Harold, and I didn't come up with anything. A monkey named Harold is not on Google, so if I don't get the reference and Google doesn't get the reference, I am not taking credit for. If that means something extremely offensive and horrible to somebody, then I accept no responsibility. Google didn't even know about it. So there you go. Next, let's keep moving right along. Of all the characters you wanted to punch in the face on Jimmy Neutron, you can't deny the number one person you would have loved to punch first goes to this team, the Carl Weezer Supremacy. Next, moving right along, this team name has the F word in it. Now, if you are a frequent listener to the podcast, which I know you are, I try not to say too many dirty words on here because I want it to be family friendly. If you've been in a VC with me before, you know that I talk like a sailor. So I'm not shaming people for having the F word in their name, but I will call them, since I can't say their name on stream right now, here's the name I came up with them. It's the We Still Think Curse Words Are Funny. Congratulations to this team. You are a contestant. Next, moving right along. Actually, no. We have a winner already. Congratulations to this team. You have the official worst team name in this entire tournament. Give a round of applause for the Ugly Hamster Stanners. Congratulations. You are the winners of this edition of You Have the Worst Pickup Team Name in the Tournament. Congratulations. Oh. Now. Episode 36 is where we finally go off the rails, ladies and gentlemen. Today started off with both of jokes, and now we're probably getting content ID'd by the Price is Right. So there you go. We'll talk more about Minnow Cup or Midpoint a little bit down the road. But first, let's take a transition from silly to more sad and somber. It was announced about the mid of last week that Xanadu had disbanded. No! No! Dang it. Now, I try not to play favorite on this podcast. This one sucks the most. Of all the teams I've talked about that disbanded, for me personally, Splatforce last week sucked the most, and Splatforce held that title for about 2 days, and then Xanadu disbanded, and that trumped it. For me, Xanadu disbanding sucks the absolute most, because for my team, Destiny Troops, Xanadu was the best rival, with the best rivalry we've had in our entire team's existence. We played these guys 11 times in tournaments over the last 2 years. 5 times in the past 2 months. 4 times in SAC this season alone. We played in grand finals against each other. We've played in top cuts against each other, semifinals. We've taken turn. We had to beat them twice to win Ash Cup 3. They had to beat us twice to win SAC tournament number 2. It was so fantastic. I didn't go back and look at each exact number, but so many of those 11 meetings came down to a final game. I think there's only like a couple of times where one team swept the other completely. We won 7, they won 4, but of the let's see, I think they won of the most of the 7 most recent meetings. I believe they won 4 and we won 3. So we got most of the wins early, and they kind of caught up to us, and it's a fantastic rivalry. I mean, this is why you play Splatoon, is to find another team that is right with you, that you know every single game is going to be a complete dogfight, that you don't know if you're going to come out on top, where you know each other's counter picks so well. Like, we had a list of preferred counter picks if we played them, because we knew we were always going to play them in Top Cut of SAC. So we had, like, our path planned out, scripted specifically for like what we wanted to do against them, based off of who their lineup was, like everything. Because it was so much fun playing those guys, and now they're gone. Dang. Now, this isn't about us. This isn't about Destiny troops. This is about Xanadu. So let's give a little shout out to Xanadu. This team, I believe, was formed on November of 2019. Just a year younger than Destiny troops. They won Ash Cup 5. They won Low Ink in September of 2020. In fact, I interviewed pretty much their entire team on episode 11 of the Popcast after they won that Low Ink. They won SAC tournament number 2, and most recently, just like a few days before they disbanded, they came in 3rd place in the Stargaze tournament that was held on not last Friday, but the Friday before that. So they were consistently getting better up until the point where they disbanded. They were improving still, even when they disbanded. And again, I don't have favorites. But when you watch Low Ink, who do you want to see win? Do you want to see a pickup team win? Do you want to see a team a brand new team that formed of former Low Ink players that just dominates Low Ink? Or do you want to see a team that started off going like 2-3, 2-4, 3-3, 4-2, and climb their way up that? That's what Xanadu was. Xanadu was a team you would root for because they're a team that went about Low Ink, in my opinion, the correct way. Failing initially and growing throughout the months of the tournament. So when Xanadu won that tournament, and that was the 2-year Low Ink anniversary, and the prize pool was significantly higher. I believe it was like $200, but I can't remember if that got split between 1st and 2nd place. But I would remember being really excited when Xanadu won that tournament because I felt like they were the one team that truly deserved to win the 2-month or the 2-year anniversary of Low Ink. So I don't know. It's the reason they disbanded. At least I'm not like speculating. I'm just going by off of what's Twitter. I haven't like DM'd these guys like, hey, why'd you guys disband or stuff like that. It's none of my business. It's their story to tell. And what they've basically been telling on Twitter is Frosh was basically forced into retirement against his will. He's the captain of the team due to IRL issues. Like Leo and Lay Case guy didn't like mutiny or anything like that. So in losing your captain and you only have 4 players on your team to begin with, that's a hard thing to bounce back from. So ultimately, I believe that is what led to them saying that they were disbanding. And it sucks because their story wasn't done. Again, right before they disbanded, they got 3rd place in the Stargaze tournament. You felt like they were leading up to something big. You knew they were a contender to win the entire SAC season. I believe they were number 2. Yeah, I think they were number 2 in the standings currently before they disbanded in SAC. And they seem like a team that's like, after SAC is done, they weren't going to disband because they were improving still, and they were going to take that next step into the mid-level wasteland that we all are kind of worried about stepping into. Xanadu seemed like they had the foundation to be fine to go through that. So, but one hiccup is all it really takes to bring a team down, and that's kind of scary to think about. Is that at any moment, these teams that we've come accustomed to and love and talk about almost weekly could just disappear for unforeseen circumstances that nobody can really control. So, for Destiny troops, it's like, man, we're starting to feel kind of old here. I think back and it's like, who's left from the old days? You know, it's like us and the West Broadway Grillers, and that's really it from those old like scrim groups that we used to have. I guess the Crusaders, the Crustacean Crusaders, are coming back after taking a little bit of hiatus to figure out their roster. I saw Kipu join their team recently, so it's good to see those guys back. But other than that, it's like, who else is from those old days? And it's like Destiny Troops is like the we're becoming that old guy who's just like still hanging around, and all of our friends have like passed on, and we're just being stubborn and refusing to pass it on as well. Which I'm fine with. I'm not quitting comp anytime soon, so I'm just gonna stick around with it. Hello from Luau. Yes, hello Luau. You guys need to step up and take the place of Xanadu. So please, Luau, do not disband. Stick around for a while. Get a year under your belt and become a name brand. But for Xanadu, we salute you. Take my hat off to you guys. It was always fun playing against you. It sucked losing to you guys. It felt amazing beating you guys. And I don't think Destiny Troops will ever find another rival team that we will enjoy playing as much as you guys. So GG's to you all. And I'm happy to know that we won the last meeting against you guys. Get owned! Now, we're not done talking about Xanadu. Because somebody, the day Xanadu announced that they were done playing, went into help desk in SAC and said, "Hey, so what does this mean about the final standings?" Like they're not even, like, we haven't even had the funeral for them yet, and everyone's already like, so do I get an inheritance from these guys or what? Like what happened? What does them disbanding mean for me? That annoyed me. But they've been dead for a week now, so let's talk about it. So, SAC, they haven't made like an official announcement of anything yet, which they don't need to. I mean, they've got a tournament coming up this weekend, so they can wait till then. But the what they did say in the help desk was basically, if they disband and they're like truly not going to finish out the season, cross them off the list, bump everybody up. So let's take a quick look at what that means going forward for SAC, because we're got one more tournament left before we have the top 8 here. So the top 8 currently looks like this: Avalanche at number 1, Seaboys number 2, Destiny Troops, Exotic on crack twice. Now, Bootleg Team is here, but and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Bootleg Team has disbanded as well. That's where I've seen that in some in some servers people are confirming Bootleg Team has disbanded. So number 8 on here on the list, let's cross them off. So that's the 6 teams I mentioned. Number 7 and number 8, West Broadway Grillers, Day Old Sushi. Now here's what's interesting about that. First off, they say the tiebreaker, unless I'm misinterpreting this, they say the tiebreaker is the team that has the best single tournament result. And the Day Old Sushi has a better single tournament result than the West Broadway Grillers. The West Broadway Grillers have finished tied for 5th, which means they lost in round 1 of Top Cut of a tournament. Day Old Sushi finished in 4th place of tournament number 1. So technically, Day Old Sushi should be above the West Broadway Grillers, even though they are tied with 80 points. But since there are only since 2 teams have disbanded, they're number 8, they're number 9, number 10 on this list. They basically bump up to the top 8 anyways. But what does this mean going forward for all those teams I mentioned a couple episodes ago that are vying for that final spot in the top 8? Well, Twisted Time, their future seems a little bit brighter now. That there's 2 spots that are up for grabs instead of the other ones that I talked about. Symphony's got to be feeling pretty good. Red Sun, Resilience, all those teams I talked about, their chances of getting into the top 8 improve slightly, just slightly, not significantly, just slightly. Now, there's one other team I want to talk about now that I didn't talk about last time that I actually think will steal a top 8 spot that is now up for grabs. And that's the team that's currently at number 16 right now at Xylo. Why is Xylo at number 16? They only played in one tournament, and they made top cut in it, so they get 50 points. That probably ties them with a bunch of other teams as well that are on this list. I'm only looking at the graphics, so I don't know who else has 50. But if Xylo is truly back, like we think that they are back, and they play as dominantly as they did in the low ink a couple of months or a couple of weeks ago, then you got to think, okay, for Xylo to make top 8, they have to make top cut. That'll get them 100 points. If they make it to grand finals, that'll get them 80 points. That will get them at around 130. But you got to think, Xylo is definitely capable of winning a single tournament. I don't know, it depends on what other teams do. Like if the Grillers and Dale Sushi make top cut, that puts them at 130. That would trump, that wouldn't trump Xylo finishing in second place in the tournament, because then Xylo would have the better result over those two. So that would be the tiebreaker. So that's the interesting, Xylo is the interesting X factor here. And we don't even know if they're going to play or not. But if Xylo does play and they pop off, they could steal a spot from all of these teams now that there are 2 spots up for grabs. So that's the interesting case. Keep an eye out for that. Xylo coming in if they do decide to play. But once again, the story here isn't that more spots are up for grabs, that Xanadu disbanded. It's that Xanadu disbanded, and that sucks for all of us. But speaking of SAC, though, they had a tournament this past weekend. The All-Star Tournament. Spoiler alert. I thought it was great. And when you compare it to last season's tournament, it was amazing. If you recall last season, that's like the All-Star Tournament. The All-Star break is when they started having the staff changeover. So like the All-Star Tournament basically got dumped on the new staff. And it took a while for that tournament to even happen. And the Twitter poll system thing wasn't good. And it took a while for that tournament to even happen. And people were wondering if the season was just just done right there. If they were just going to end it like it just seemed like there were radio silence for a little bit. This season around, though, it was like, hey, 2 weeks. And they were DMing captains, and they're like, you have to get us this information by this time, or we're kicking you out of the All-Star. Excuse me. So they were on it, and they got the teams in, they got the polls done, and they put everything together and got the tournament done. Fantastic. It was such a quick tournament. 3.5 hours if you played from start all the way through grand finals. Mwah! Perfect. I don't want to devote my entire day or weekend to one tournament. It's done in 3.5. After 3.5 hours, we've crowned a champion. Man, that is cookies and juice right there. Everyone got a minimum of 5 matches in as well. Play all 3 matches. So everyone who participated got a ton of games in. Only 4 teams made it onto Top Cut, which is fine. It's just an overall wonderful event. Such a great event. Now, it was a group format. And here's why I love group format for something like this. First off, groups in skill cap tournaments, I'm not a big fan of. I like them because they're different from Swiss, and seeing Swiss every single time is annoying, especially if you're someone who plays in them all the time. But the problem with groups is that with skill cap tournaments, you're going to be scripting teams that are already looking for this tournament as a way to get a few wins or so. You're scripting them not to win anything at all. And for other teams, You're just basically giving them a cakewalk invitation into top cut or alpha bracket of your tournament. But groups into something like this, where you can't do seeding because it's just putting everything together, is great, and it really speeds things up. Think about it like this. For Swiss to start, as soon as the TOs hit the start round button, that is when everything begins, right? That is when you find out who you're playing the next round. That's when you start the communication and all that stuff. With groups, even though they still were like, hey, wait till we tell you to start the round, when they say start the round, I already got people in my lobby. When my match was done and I can look and see, okay, here's who we're playing next round. I DM Devi. I'm like, hey, Devi, here's the password. We're already friends. Get your guys in the lobby. We're not going to start until they tell us to start. But that's the difference there. So when a Swiss round hits start, that's when the communication begins and you even find out who you're playing. When a group round hits start, that's when you're hitting okay and you're going immediately into weapon selection. So that alone saves like 5 to 7 minutes per round. And over the course of 5 rounds, that's like half an hour to 45 minutes of tournament time saved. That's why group stages are so much faster. And it didn't dawn on me until I saw this tournament in action. And I was like, oh. And I think the TOs kind of realized that as well, because they were like, hey, this round ended quickly. Let's just go. Let's just do the next round. Get it over with. And that was awesome. So I think the group format played a big factor into why the tournament went as quickly as it did. And even it's funny because even though it went so quickly, there was still somebody in general chat like, what the WTF is going on with this? Like, bruh, this tournament is going smoothly and quickly, and you are still finding ways to complain about it. My lord. It was really competitive too. This tournament was really competitive. If I could pull up the bracket, pretty much everybody. Now, of course, there's one team that dominated everybody, and we'll talk about that. But erase that team from your mind. Everybody else, all the other 9-ish teams or so, were really even with each other. My team, Rockenberg, finished in second place. We only swept one team, and that team we had to get a comeback on in a couple of games to get the win against them there. There was a team that beat us that didn't even make top cut. We played the team that finished in third place, Team Takaroka, and they took us to a game 5 to eliminate them. So everybody was really, really close with each other. If you look at Group A, the standings were 4-1, 3-2, 3-2, 2-3, 2-3, 1-4. Group B was 5-0, yes. Then 3-2, 2-3, 2-3, 2-3, 1-4. So you get the sense that anybody could beat anybody in this tournament. Now, of course, was Team Zinc put together? They didn't even drop a single game. Like, they went, 15, 18, 22-0 in this tournament? Yes. Now, does that mean that team should not have been put together? Yes. Does it really matter? No, it really doesn't. Because, again, there's nothing really on the line here. We're not playing for points, thank God. We're just playing for an art prize and for bragging rights. So, I'm not really like... Could you make the argument? Now, if there was something on the line, like money or something like that, yeah, I could see people going irate that a team got put together by staff that went undefeated. But again, it's just for an art prize, just for fun, which is what this tournament was. Totally fine. Totally fine. Nothing but praise to that team. You don't take anything away from them. And yeah, I agree, Zonic. I feel like Cookie is definitely underrated. Cookie on the West Broadway Grillers. I feel like most people when they think of West Broadway Grillers, they think of Jim and Debbie, because they're both really amazing people. But you don't really realize that they have like a monster just kind of hidden amongst the trees. at West Broadway Grillers, and that is Cookie. So yeah, Cookie being on a team with all those other guys. I don't know who Shadow. They said it was Shadow, the slosher. Those two together just feasted on everybody, including us. Um, but yeah, good. It's good that those guys got some recognition though, for what they did there. Putting teams together, there's no real perfect way to do it. The alternative is to let the players do it, and I'll tell you right now, you guys really suck at putting teams together. You guys don't know how to draft players, you don't know how to build teams properly, you don't even know the players in depth that you might just draft your friend, and then somebody who actually pays attention to players is going to be like, oh, this guy, you gave this guy like a 1 or something. Okay, I'm just gonna pick this guy up last, and then not you guys aren't gonna realize that this dude is actually the best player in this tournament or something like that. So I think letting staff do it is fine. The fact that that 9 out of the 10 teams were like dead even with each other shows that's about as perfect as you can do as far as putting a 10 teams together in a tournament like this. So I have no complaints. In this tourney, what was the purpose of this tourney? Other than just to have fun, it was about meeting new people. And for my experience, my team was awesome. We played with Carbine of Resilience, who I've interviewed on the Popcast twice. Once with Red Game, once when I talked about Launch Point. We had Evie from Twisted Time, who is skipping school art class to be in chat right now, and Cool Sauce of the Evening Chickens. And those 3 guys were awesome to be with, just totally chill. And that's really what makes or breaks these tournaments is the not the skill level of your teammates, but the attitudes of your teammates. My team was super chill. We were in it. We were bought in to trying to win this tournament, but nobody was like, whenever we lost, nobody was like pointing the fingers or it was like, oh, you guys are dragging me down and making me look bad or anything. When we lost, it was like, okay, everyone was taking ownership of themselves. We were thinking, all right, what can we change to get better and come back and win the next game? A lot of nothing but positive things. And it was, my team in particular was cool because we had no like true support player. They gave me a Hydra main, 3 frontline slayers, a carbon roller, a Neo Splash, and this like a splatter shot Inzap K-Gal guy. And it's like, okay, well, I don't know how we're gonna make this work, but we went through some stuff on Saturday and we figured, okay, you should play this weapon and you should be playing this weapon, and we'll switch some things up like this when we need to. And we figured out how to make it work, and that's part of the fun thing is like the puzzle of figuring out how to make your team specifically work. And I feel like we, over the course of the tournament, figured out how our puzzle worked, and it made things a lot of fun. And we played in a lot of really amazing sets throughout the entire day. So that was awesome. It's funny because like when the commentators are talking about specific teams, and they'll be like, "Wow, this team has an interesting comp." That they're coming up with. You know why our comp is interesting to you? It's because you gave me 3 frontline slayers. Why the commentators shouldn't be surprised in a draft pickup tournament when one team is doing something completely off meta. Bruh, we don't have guys who can do the meta. You think we're doing this by choice? That's just something funny I wanted to point out. Now, other teams, other players might not have had as good of experience as Team Rockenberg did. It sucks because all it takes is this one douchebag to make the whole experience bad for everybody, win or loss. So I understand maybe some people came away from this tournament thinking, this kind of sucks. But if you were to look at pickup tournaments, there is a way to make it even more worse, even more horrible. If you just waited less than 24 hours on Sunday, we were graced with the Midpoint Tournament, and good golly, Miss Molly, this is not the way to do it. Instead of 5 matches guaranteed for everybody, you were only guaranteed 2 matches. And if you lost both of those matches you played, you were done for the whole tournament. But if you won one of them, you were given the grand prize of possibly playing 7 additional hours of a tournament. Oh my goodness. 3 rounds of group into a double elimination tournament. Oh no. Oh no. This tournament, from start to finish, lasted approximately 8.5 hours, which is hilarious because Midpoint is known as an EU server, yet this tournament is basically a giant middle finger to Europe on a Sunday. Oh my lord. And it's hilarious because this is the second time it happened. The Midpoint Draft Cup before this was the same exact format. It went basically the same exact length. And they decided, despite the feedback, we're like, let's do this again. This is great. But no, I would have loved to sign up for the Midpoint Cup. I played in the first Draft Cup. I specifically did not sign up for this one because I knew I cannot waste my entire day on a tournament with 3 other strangers who I may or may not even like playing with all to begin with. My goodness. Now, this will be the longest tournament of the entire year. It will be. I promise you there will not be a single day tournament that lasts longer than 8.5 hours. Launchpoint did it once, and Launchpoint members were in chat the day afterwards griping about how bad it was and that they're never going to do a tournament that long again. Midpoint decided to double down on it. And, somebody said the grand finals of this set was great. It was a bracket reset 3-4 and then a 4-3 win from the team that went in from winners finals. So the grand finals was statistically an amazing set. You know why I didn't watch it? Well, because it ended so late and I don't have time to go back and watch that before the podcast. But you know why I won't go back and watch it? There is no way the 8 players playing in that grand finals were playing anywhere remotely close to how good they actually would play if their brains were not mush at that point. I imagine the reason why this set was so close is because both teams had absolutely nothing left, and it was just like a boxing match that should have ended in round 12, but is now going on for round 20, and the fighters aren't really fighting each other. It's just, they just take turns landing soft, dead punches, and then it's like, well, somebody has to win this game, so that team won. I could be completely wrong. Maybe both teams just were just roided out on Monster energy drinks and just played out of their minds in hour 8 of the tournament. But just on paper, I gotta believe that was probably that has to be the worst Game 7 bracket reset bracket that went the full way possible, just because there's no way both players are playing, or both teams are playing at their maximum. Now, another thing I want to point out about Midpoint, which I find interesting about this format that they did, is that they do this new team tournament monthly, which is great. I love this because we need more mid-level tournaments, and something like Midpoint, that is an established organization, coming out with a monthly tournament aimed specifically at mid-level teams is fantastic. The format for that is groups into a single elim, top cuts, but they also have the silver bracket as well. So that format is even better. But it makes the Draft Cup even more mind-boggling that they would be like, we got this great formula for the team thing, and we got this really bad formula for the Draft Cup that we do. Let's just keep the bad formula for... It's like they're aware that single elim exists. They're just going out of their way to punish people for signing up for the Draft Cup, which makes no sense to me. Now, my point is this. And one last thing. Is Midpoint an EU favored server? Yes, there's no surprise. It's not a secret. It's mostly EU players that play in this. I see people complaining a lot about North America. There's no like times for people to do draft in North America, and that's why they're constantly getting kicked out of it. I understand that frustration, but at the same time, we kind of got to understand we have a North America privilege here in the Splatoon community. Every single server just about caters to North America. SAC caters to us, +0, I guess now +3 caters to us. Every single tournament roughly caters to North America. So I think we can be okay knowing that at least one of these major servers caters to EU. I think we should give them that and not be too frustrated. I get why people are frustrated, but I mean, come on. We can't have everything here in North America. We got to give up some things. My point is this. SAC got it right. And it's not often that we give people praise for when they do things right. And I realize this. The more I TO, the more I realize, okay, we're constantly giving feedback when something's bad. But whenever something's good, we never point it out. So it's kind of the job. It's like being an offensive lineman in football. Your name's only in the paper when you let your quarterback get hurt. Right? Otherwise, if you do a good job, nobody talks about you. So I wanted to point out, SAC got it right with this All-Star tournament, and I wanted to point it out. And I went to their feedback, and I gave them good feedback. I was like, hey, this is great, and I want you guys to know that you did a good job, that me, a player, appreciated it. Because there are multiple ways for it to be horrendously worse. With that being said, we're going to take a quick water break and bring in our guest for this portion of the Popcast episode. A quick water break. My apologies to if anyone in chat is a part of the Midpoint staff. I appreciate the Midpoint server. I think it is an important thing for the community as a whole. But doing double elimination 2 draft cups in a row is very bad. That's bad. I'm sorry. Would you like to play in a 9-hour tournament? No.
It's draining. I'd have to turn over the whole team.
And it's funny because, like, I didn't pay attention to this, and I don't know how we're going to... But the All-Star tournament had a lot of people were needing subs for that, like, after just a couple of rounds. So it's like, I wonder how many teams in Midpoint were needing a sub after what they went through on that. So this isn't the best... most amazing format to do this camera wise, so we'll try to make it work, and if the audio doesn't, make sure you say something. Make sure you're mostly in the shot because I can adjust. But welcome into the Popcast for one of our first few ever in-person interviews. Miss Popgun, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Hey everybody, great to be here. Excited to be on the Popcast.
So the first question is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate me?
Well, I'd rate you a 10, duh.
What got you into competitive?
About 2 years ago, I guess you had been competitive for almost a year at that point. I joined a team called To Be Determined that originally got me into competitive, and it was just a bunch of friends playing around, and it was fun. Got our butts kicked a lot, but then we all kind of fell off just due to IRL schedules and things like that. So in February of 2020, thereabouts, I decided to put my FA post out again because my schedule got better. And that's when Spicy reached out to me. And Tooniverse began.
You've been playing in a lot of launch point stuff lately. Mm-hmm. Well, how's that experience been?
It's definitely been interesting. So I joined Launchpoint a couple months ago, but didn't really start playing in the drafts until like this past month. And I've been trying to play in at least one a day since then. It's definitely hard, but really rewarding. One of my goals was to use Launchpoint to help build my skills on specific weapons and learn to play with a bunch of different people and play styles, and I think that's happening. And I met a lot of really cool people through there, so that's been nice.
What's been hard about it, you said?
Sometimes it's hard working with comps that you're not familiar with, or weapons that you're not really used to playing around with. Tooniverse, we have pretty set weapons that we play with, and so I get used to that, and I get used to those players' play styles, and so being with new people and adjusting to that can be tricky.
Well, do you feel like that makes you better, though, that you're playing with things you're not comfortable with?
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. I think it forces me out of my comfort zone. I tend to be a more passive player, and that doesn't always work in Launchpoint or even in Tooniverse. And so this forces me to try to figure out when's a good time to be passive, when's a good time to be active and more aggressive, and getting better in my one-on-one fights, which is something that I struggled with.
Now, Tooniverse is mostly an older-ish team. You got people in their 20s.
Yeah.
In Launchpoint, you could be playing with someone who's 13 years old, for all you know. What is it like playing with somebody who could be half your age? And I'll say this, like when I played in All-Star, all three of my teammates were in high school, and it was fine. It's like, okay, I can have like normal conversations with all these guys, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like I might be older than some of their student teachers, you know? It's like, if I met them IRL, that would be weird, but in the context of the internet, it just seems more natural, and I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I was thinking about that yesterday, like the context of being online playing with teenagers versus like if this were IRL, would that feel different?
Yeah.
And I think for sure it would. Like you said, Tooniverse is all 21 plus, but playing in Launchpoint, you just really have no idea. I think one funny moment for me was somebody asked like where everyone's in-game names came from, and I said, well, my husband. And they were like, you have a husband? And I was like, I'm old. Hi. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't really tell a difference when we're playing together online because we have this shared interest and this shared goal. But I think it would definitely be different if we all met at like a LAN when those come back.
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing about me when I went to G7 in meetings, like some of the top players, and then you're like, oh wait, that's your mom behind you, like chaperoning you. That's odd, you know, like. But I mean, it's not. I mean, it's not probably not odd for them, as it is for us. But you know, all the teenagers I've met for the most part have been really cool, and it's been an interesting experience. How often do you get mistaken for me because we have the same IGN? Basically,
only once. I almost got tagged as you in Launchpoint. Oh. Only once.
Well, I get DMs a lot saying GGs,
Yeah,
and I'm like. Bruh, I'm like not even at home right now. What do you mean GG's? Is this from a scrim last night? And they're like, this isn't you? I was like, do you see the miss in that name? Do you see the miss in my Discord tag? You might think there might be a little bit of a difference there, but what?
I did get a nickname that I hadn't heard for a while, because usually people either call me Popgun or Laura in other servers, but someone called me Poppy yesterday.
Poppy?
Yeah. That was a new one I hadn't heard.
Old Poppy.
But you almost got tagged once in a Launchpoint draft result, and someone was like, wait, your husband's here? And I'm like, he reviews it.
Yeah, that would be hilarious. That'd be controversial for sure.
People would riot.
Somebody banned from Launchpoint
wait.
is winning Launchpoint drafts. Yeah,
or losing in that case.
yeah, losing. Yeah, I'd be ripped apart for that. Tooniverse, you mentioned Spicy was kind of around to get it started. You guys have been together for almost over a year now. How do you keep a team together for that long?
I think the biggest key is having personalities that match well together. Like if you have people that are kind of friends outside the game, or at least get along outside of just playing, I think that's what really keeps us together. Because like we'll do other stuff. Like I know sometimes we have movie nights, or we have like game nights, or you know, stuff like that where we hang out and do other things. And I think that really bonds us. I think our roster right now wasn't really finalized until October of last year when we brought on Yam. We went through a great period of fluctuation from like March of 2020 through October.
What is your recruitment process like?
So first we bring people into the server and try to talk to them, get to know them. We like for them to participate in at least, gotta let the dog in, he's scratching. We like to have people participate in at least 2 scrims in the week that we're doing tryouts to kind of get a feel for them, and even try to league with them in between if we can. Because, again, personality is a really big thing for us. If you can't get along with everybody and you can't overcome things that are tough, like, it's just not going to work out. And then weapons and skill sets, sometimes that's adaptable and sometimes it's not. But we usually take about a week, maybe 2, to get to know the person and see how it's going to fit.
What you guys made alpha brackets a couple of months ago.
Yes.
What's the goals for Tooniverse going forward?
Yes, we want to be more consistently making alpha bracket, and hopefully one day winning low ink. That's kind of where we're at right now, and doing well in SAC this season too has been really, really cool. Making the leaderboard has been something nice to follow along with.
What
Hi, dog.
This is why we usually do the Popcast with a closed door, as opposed to something else. Let's talk about Minnow Cup.
Sure.
How did that come about into existence?
I can't remember exactly when, but I know Spicy expressed some interest in getting into TOing or the tournament scene stuff. And I helped out with one of the LSLs because I had some interest to see what kind of went on behind the scenes. And then one thing I know Spicy and I talked about a lot was how there's specific modes that Tooniverse really needed to practice on that we really struggled with. But when you're rotating each mode over and over, like switching it frequently, it's hard to really focus and hone in on that skill. So we were like, well, what if we had a tournament where it was capped so that people who were trying to really, really learn could focus on that mode specifically and get better at it and really put all of their energy into, like, how do we capitalize on this mode and do better? And then realize later that it was very similar to a tournament that had been around in the past that went away.
Well, you guys weren't around for the BNS days.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's different enough because of the skill gap, and people loved BNS, mainly because it was the only thing we had. Now, Minnow Cup had the initial success of Minnow Cup.
Yes.
You had a gazillion teams sign up, like 50 for the first one, and then 60 for the most recent one. How did you get so many teams initially, where so many other tournaments have tried and failed in their first several attempts to make a tournament, but you guys were so successful from the first one?
Yeah, the first thing we did was make sure we had staff in place early and figuring out what people's roles were going to be. And then with the staff that we brought on board, we ended up having a lot of connections throughout this level, because we have Rob, who works on LSL, who's also been on Eurobeats and active in this community skill range. You have me and Spicy on Tooniverse, active in this skill range. And then we have like Doc and Karma and Salem, and everyone. We got together and we built this document of teams that were in our skill level that we were trying to target. So that was like teams we pulled from Low Inks, we pulled from LSL, we pulled from other tournaments of similar range, and we found a team that was like our top, and we're like, okay, anyone that's this team's level or above is probably a no-go. But then what we did is we kind of broke it down into who had connections with these teams, and we reached out individually through direct messages and invited them to join us and play with us. And we're really excited to see a lot of our friends and meet new people through that outreach.
What have you learned about TOing that you didn't know going into it?
I learned more about online stuff like Battlefy. I don't understand the back end of Battlefy. I understand it more now. But I was like, I don't know how you set up brackets. I don't know how you build any of this. And I think Spicy and Rob knew a little more than I did initially. But we learned a lot about that. Learned a lot about like timing of things that we didn't really think of before, like how to round up rounds, or how long to give in between things, when to do cutoffs, things of that nature. But I kind of already knew Help Desk was going to be getting the same question 1,500 times and having patience to answer it. So that wasn't surprising.
If you had anybody like be an absolute jerk to you at help desk or something.
In our first Minnow Cup, yes. We had people being kind of rude to the TOs. And some of our friendships we have with people through IPL have been really amazing because they, came in and helped us through that. And that was just I'm so grateful for those relationships we have, and we have the support of people in IPL too. They've been like big brothers to us and sisters.
Anything else you want to talk about? I think we pretty much hit all the topics going forward. We've been dating for 11 years, married for 6.5. During COVID season, we see more people. Like, we weren't around when Tinder was a thing.
Yeah, it was just starting up when we were dating.
We weren't around. I mean, we did like online relationships or something. That you and me are. We were like separated for like 6 months because you moved up here to do grad school, and I finished up my school before I moved up. But so that's like the only really long distance we've had.
And
but
by then we were engaged.
Well, yeah, we were engaged before that, so that's there's like, okay, we know like we're gonna get through that, but it's like everything COVID wise, people are starting relationships online now, and that's in the Splatoon community. That seems like the main trend is online. You meet somebody online through the game and you start dating them, which is fine. But I don't know. That's just different for me because that's not how you and I relationship worked. But I don't know. I didn't know if you had like a comment on that or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I think in the same strain of friendships that we build online, because I mean, even with Sploot Troops, we met all of those people virtually way before we ever had a chance to meet any of them IRL.
Yeah.
But, trusting in those relationships we built online, being genuine and honest, and then being able to see through some lands or a trip that we did together, we were able to meet them and get that supported. And I think that really was how my faith is instilled in, like, okay, these are real, genuine people. It's not scammy in a way. But I think that's, if that's what I'm getting at. But
that's fair.
I think it's the same thing with the relationships. It's just like the friendships.
We've met some other married couples too, or we've been aware of some married couples. Obviously Herbert and St. K. I feel. Do you know Jennifer from Enigma?
Yes.
They're married too, aren't they? I think I've seen something on their Twitter.
Not sure. I don't know them well enough.
Who else? Oh, we haven't met Falco Flyer, but we know that guy is married.
We've met people in some long-term relationships too.
Yes.
Even if they weren't married.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much same thing, basically. Okay. All right. Let's wrap this up. Of course Sigurd's married, but Sigurd's wife doesn't participate in things that I'm aware of. Plug yourself some. Where can people find you on Twitter?
You can find me on Twitter at Miss Popgun. I'm trying to be more active there, I promise. And or you can follow our team, Tooniverse_SPL. And then we also have Minnow Cup under the bigger hat of Deep Sea Solutions. We just rebranded that because we are hoping to have a higher skill cap version of Minnow Cup coming out in the next couple months called the Megalodon Cup. And that's at DSS_SPL.
Thank you for being on the Popcast.
It's a pleasure.
It was nice.
It's nice to see everybody.
Nice to have you there. That was Miss Popgun on the Popcast here, and a surprise appearance by Popgun as well, which I assumed was going to happen since Miss Popgun wasn't around to keep him busy. So there you go. Another fantastic episode with Popgun Jr. coming. Oh my God, I'm glad Laura left before you asked that. That's the quick tip. When you date somebody for a long time, people start asking you, so when are you going to get married? Nobody likes being asked that question. Then when you get married, people start asking you, especially if you're the woman, people start asking you, so when are you going to have a kid? And it's like, when we feel like it. Personal note, we're in our 30s. We have full-time jobs. We have a house, and we have no financial issues. because we don't have kids, and it's great, and we're just going to enjoy that as long as we feel like we should. I've always heard people say, there's no perfect time to have a kid. Yeah, there's always a freaking better time, though. So, I don't know. To answer your question, I don't know. Not thinking about it. We are thinking about the Popcast competitive Splatoon, and we are going to raid somebody. Takor is streaming. Let's just go to that. Makes sense. Raid. Actually, KO's raiding. You know what? Let's raid KO. Hey, if you would like to be a part of the Popcast in any way, if you want to be in an in-person studio interview like my wife just did, I think I got a little bit of overlap there. That's not going to happen. None of you are ever going to come to my house ever. But if you want to be a part of the Popcast in any way, feel free to reach out to me on Discord at Popgun. Hashtag 5882, Twitter at Mr_Popgun, YouTube at 25Popgun, Twitch at Popgun25. We're going to be rating KO. Next episode of the Popcast obviously is going to be jam-packed because there's going to be 3 tournaments to cover. So might not do any interviews next week. Not really necessary. And if you're player X and you missed the SAC stuff, go back and watch this on YouTube when it's uploaded about an hour and a half from now. GG's. Thanks for watching. Keep wearing the mask. When it is your turn to get vaccinated, make sure you do that. If you don't, give it to me. I'll take it. I'll happily take it.